Hello viewers, welcome to your favorite channel Rising Legal. Today in this gender justice class, I am going to discussion an important area, that is judicial response towards gender justice. Viewers, in a tradition bound society like India, which is entirely dominated by men, women's participation in public life is on a rise. The law of the land treats men and women equally. However, even after the protection by law, women are still ill-treated in society. Violence against women exists in various forms such as rape, acid attack, unequal treatment, etc., which not only violates their fundamental rights but also promotes gender inequality. Not only women but the LGBTQ community is also denied equally. While homosexuality is considered an illness, the LGBTQ community suffers from an extreme violation of human rights, including violation of the right to equality and the right to live a dignified life. People belonging to the LGBTQ community are made to suffer from physical, social, and psychological violence, which is motivated by the homophobic, transphobic, biphobic, and lesbophobic acts. Atrocities against women and the LGBTQ community lead to some landmark judgment in the history of the Indian polity, which are fought to provide justice to them and to uphold their right to equality and right to live a dignified life as granted under the Constitution of India. Now viewers, I am going to the next page, that is what are the role of the judiciary regarding protecting of the gender equality. One of the remarkable case, that is Vishakha versus state of Rajasthan and others. This is the case in AIR 1997. It is one of the landmark judgment pronounced by the Supreme Court of India. In this case, this lead to the enactment of certain guideline to deal with cases of sexual harassment of women at workplace. What are the facts of the case? In that particular case, Banwari Devi, a social worker from Rajasthan, was brutally gang raped by 6 Gurjar men for stopping child marriage. Determined to get justice, Banwari Devi filed a complaint against the offender. However, they were acquitted by the trial court. Enraged by this, several women's groups and NGOs came out to support Banwari Devi and filed a writ petition in the Supreme Court to fight against injustice. The writ was filed for the enforcement of fundamental rights of working women granted under Article 14, Article 19 and Article 21 of the Constitution. Now, what are the judgment of that particular case? Now, the court observed that as per Article 14 Clause 2, thereafter Article 19 Clause 1 Subclause Z and Article 21 Clause 4, every profession, trade or occupation should provide a safe working environment to all the employees. A safe working environment is a basic requirement, unavailability of which violates the right to live a dignified life granted under Article 21 of the Constitution. The Supreme Court, in its judgment, defines sexual harassment as an unwanted or uninvited action, including physical touch or contact, or showing of pornography, or use of sexually derogatory words, or asking for sexual favors, or any other unpleasant verbal or non-verbal contact of sexual nature. Further, the Supreme Court in that particular case held that since there are no laws pertaining to sexual harassment in India, consideration must be paid to the international convention, and therefore the court issued certain guidelines to be followed by the employer or other responsible person in the workplace to ensure gender equality and safety of women at workplace. Such guidelines were to be treated as law declared under Article 141 of the Constitution. Now, viewers, what are those guidelines? These are the actually following guidelines. Number 1, the employer should take preventive step by notifying the definition of sexual harassment of the workplace. Second, such rules and regulations should be included which prohibit sexual harassment and impose penalties against the offender. Number third, steps should be undertaken to provide a safe working environment with proper health and hygienic facilities. Number 4, in this case of sexual harassment, the employer should initiate appropriate action against the offender by filing a complaint with the competent authority. Number 5, steps should be taken to ensure that the offender does not victimize the witnesses and the victim itself. Number 6, a proper complaint committee shall be established in every employer's organization which should redress the complaints made by the victims with a reasonable time. Number 7, the committee shall be headed by a woman with half of its members as women. Number 8, the committee shall ensure the redressal of the complaint while the confidentiality is maintained. Number 9, the committee shall also include a third party, either an NGO or any other body, to prevent any influence or pressure on the victim from the seniors of the organization. Now, viewers, the next case regarding gender justice, that is Mary Roy versus State of Kerala. This is the judgment came in the year of 1986, and this judgment was pronounced by the Supreme Court. In that particular case, what happened? The Supreme Court of India recognized the rights of a Christian woman related to intestate succession. What are the facts of this case? In that case, Mary Roy, a widow who was staying at her father's house, was continuously harassed and threatened by his brother because he wanted her to evacuate the property. However, with no other place to go, Mary blatantly refused to evacuate the place. Her brother claimed that the property belongs to him as per the Travancore Succession Act 1916, which recognized acquisition of the property through inheritance only. Further, sections 24 of the Act provided that a widowed mother will get life interest in the property, and the daughter will not have any right to the property after getting Stridhan. Thereafter, Mary filed a case against his brother for her right in the property, which was denied by the lower court. However, the High Court ruled in her favor, providing an equal right in the property. Even after getting a right, Mary was harassed by her brother for the property. Mary decided to move to the Supreme Court and filed a writ petition under Article 32 of the Constitution, challenging the provisions of the Act. Now, viewers, what are the judgment in that particular case? The Supreme Court held that no personal law can be held above the Constitution of India. The provisions of the Act discriminate against women and thus violates the right to equality granted under Article 14 of the Constitution of India. Further, the court held that Chapter 2 of Part 5 of the Indian Succession Act 1925 shall be applicable in cases of intestate succession even in the area of Travancore instead of the Travancore Succession Act 1916. The court further reinstated the right of Mary in her father's property and held that 1/3 part of the property shall belong to the widowed mother and 1/3 part of the daughter and remaining 1/3 part shall belong to her brother. The court held that there can be no discrimination between son and daughter in case of intestate succession. Now viewers, I am going to discuss another important case regarding gender justice, that is Lala Singh versus State of Uttar Pradesh. This is the case, the judgment came in the year of 2006. In this particular case, the Supreme Court accepted a writ petition filed by a girl for her right to marry a person of her own choice by her own will. Now here's what are the facts of this case. Now in this particular case, a girl named Lata Singh was living with his brother and on attaining majority moved out of her house and married a guy of her own choice outside their caste and had a daughter with him. Her brother filed a missing complaint and framed the family members of the husband in the case and got them arrested. Furious with the intercaste marriage, he even went to the husband's house and bashed his mother and uncle. Now the National Human Rights Commission and the State Women's Commission intervened in this particular case and got the accused out on bail. However, after the final report of the police, the court issued a non-bailable warrant against the accused. Lata Singh then moved to the High Court, where the case remained pending. All this time, she was forced to live at her brother's house. Then she finally moved to the Supreme Court and filed a writ petition under Article 32 of the Indian Constitution, claiming her right to marry a person of her choice by her own will. Now, what are the judgment of that case? In that case, the Supreme Court stated that intercaste marriage is not banned as per the Hindu Marriage Act or any other law prevalent in the country. The caste system is not more than a hindrance in the process of the country's growth and development. The court further held that the girl has the complete right to marry a person of her own choice, and the charges framed against her husband and relatives are false. The court actually quashed the charges and provided police protection to the girl and her husband. The court further ordered the authorities to initiate proceeding against her brother and to ensure that the girl and her family members are not harassed or threatened. Now viewers, I am going to discuss another important case regarding gender justice, that is Roxanne Sarma versus Oran Sarma. This is the case of 2015. In that particular case, Supreme Court held that the mother has the custodial right of a child under the age of 5 years. What are the facts of this case? In that particular case, Roxanne Sarma and Arun Sarma both were married and had a child named Thaivir Sarma. However, due to the differences, they both filed an application for the dissolution of the marriage and later on a petition for custody of Thaivir under the Hindu Minority and Guardianship Act 1956. While the case was pending in the court, Thaivir was staying with her mother, who filed an application for interim relief seeking that the father should be restrained from getting custody of the child. The father also filed an application for custody. The trial court ruled in the favor of the mother, restraining the father from getting the custody. However, the High Court overruled the judgment of the trial court, awarding the interim custody to the father. The mother then moved to the Supreme Court, challenging the order of the High Court. The mother claimed that the father was jobless as well as addict, whereas the father argued that the mother is bipolar. Now, what are the judgment in that particular case? The Supreme Court held that the custody of a child below 5 years of age must be given to the mother unless the father proves that it would hamper the upbringing of the child. The court pointed out that the burden to prove the incapability to raise the child lies on the father. In case the mother is not suitable for the children custody, then the background of the fathers must be taken into consideration for the child's custody. The court further held that the right to mother over custody does not end after 5 years of age. The Supreme Court further ruled in that particular case in favor of the mother and granted her the custody of her child. The Supreme Court also defined the term guardianship, custody and visitation in its judgment. That guardians is a person with general care and control of a person. What is the meaning of the custody? It refers to the care and control of a person. What is the meaning of the term visitation? It refers to the right of a non-custodial parent to spend time with the child. So viewers, that is our today's discussion. Some of the important case regarding gender justice. Hopefully you actually understand. Lastly, I am thankful to all the viewers who actually viewed our channel Rising Legal. Thank you very much to all of you.